essentially people are mortgaging their future is really what's happening. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. And you're probably wondering, why the heck am I outside in the rain? And to be honest with you guys, number one, I need to make sure that I burn these calories because I just had a big meal and unfortunately I didn't have any exercise today. And of course I didn't have any because we went, I don't want to say house shopping, but we went looking for houses today because we are of course in the market for a home. And the funny thing is, guys, as we go along on this journey, I wanted to fill you in so that way you can learn from my experiences. But more importantly, you guys can see what I've been talking about, or should I say what I've been saying for many, many years now in my personal circles, but you're actually seeing it play out in real time. And what I'm referring to is homes are just too expensive, guys. It is way too expensive. So before we jump into our conversations on homes and the pricing, and if you guys appreciate my content and the level of effort that I'm putting in, given that I'm literally recording this in the rain, guys, I am taking all this rain just for you. I'm joking, actually. You know, I had to go get my steps in. But if you do appreciate me being out here and giving you this content, go ahead and give me a like for the video as it helps the channel grow. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications so that way you're notified when I upload new videos to the channel. And then lastly, of course, share this with a family member or a friend, especially those who will eventually go down this home buying process, because to be honest with you guys, if you are not informed, I will tell you right now, these people will take advantage of you. And it's not their job to inform you. It is your job to do your homework and see if this purchase, especially such a big purchase like a home, makes sense for you. All right, guys, so first thing on the list, and one of the things that I'll tell you is, whenever you're going for homes, I mean, it's funny how people will tell you the obvious thing, and when you listen to it, you're like, duh, that makes a lot of sense. But I can't tell you how many times people fall in love with a house. They don't bother looking at anything else. It's strictly like, I don't know, they get so emotionally attached to it that it costs them a lot of money. In my particular case, we're not tied to a home. And of course, you know, we look at it for what it is. It's a place to put, you know, our kids in, have shelter, that kind of good stuff, right? But more importantly, since we're not attached emotionally to a house, we are doing some house shopping. And we're very flexible, and so that gives us the ability to find things that just doesn't make sense to us. And I'll give you an example. If you look on the screen right here, there is a community not too far away. It's about 10 minutes or so. It's called the Hills of Mineola. And one of the floor plans that we were looking at, it's called the Avalon. And the Avalon, which is quite interesting, it actually starts off with, I believe, and again, this is off the top of my head, I'm gonna see if I can find it for you on the screen, but it's over $600,000 for this floor plan. And this floor plan has two versions of it. So the first version is just called the straight up Avalon. I think that one is at 609 right now, if I'm not mistaken. So the funny thing about that is that 10 minutes away, like I said, 10 minutes away is another builder, and this builder is called Plummeting Homes. So again, the last one was Dreamfinder Homes, and then Plummeting Homes is another builder. And by the way, we're gonna compare, I don't wanna say apples to apples, but let's just compare without that bonus room. Let's do the Avalon, the straight Avalon. And Plummeting has a similar floor plan, and I'll put it up here for you on the screen, but this floor plan is 300 square feet bigger. And not only is it 300 square feet bigger, but it is also $30,000 cheaper. That's right. I'm not even joking. You're seeing it on the screen right now. This floor plan that I'm showing you right now, 300 square feet, livable space, bigger, and it is $30,000 cheaper. Not to say that, you know, when you have a home priced at $609,000, which is what you're seeing, that is cheap. But it just goes to show you that if you just do a little bit of shopping and you look around, you'll start to see that some of this stuff doesn't even make sense, because why would I spend $30,000 more and get a smaller house? And number two, they're not gonna tell you that they don't have a competitive floor plan. They're gonna hope that you just come walk into their sales center, not do any research, and overpay for your house, which is typically what most people do. All right, so that is one basic example of what you can do in order to save $30,000 in that case, just by doing a simple little search and realizing that there's other products out there that will do the same exact stuff or similar things, and you'll pay a lot less. And by the way, that 30,000 turns into a lot more because you have to factor in the interest, you have to factor in all these other things that will cost you more over time. So you actually saved a lot more than 30,000. But if we're gonna make things simple, from a base perspective, we saved ourselves $30,000. All right, guys, so the next thing that I wanted to tell you is that one of the things that I've noticed about Florida, and especially the state that I live in, is that this was one of the states where there was such a big boom when it came to the pandemic. And there was a lot of things that played into it, of course. And I'm not a real estate expert, but what I can tell you is some of the basic stuff that I've seen, and that is everybody was working remotely at the time. People were getting cheap money in the sense that rates were so low. And that, of course, allowed people to move wherever they wanted to in the sense of the flexibility to move. Rates were so cheap, so that way the money was cheap, meaning that you can borrow a lot of money at a very low interest rate. And that essentially drove up bidding wars for these homes here in Florida. And essentially, these houses became severely overvalued. Now, while I love Florida and it's such a phenomenal state, Florida does not command a lot of the incomes that you'll see in other states, especially the Northeast, which are some of the more higher paying states. But over here in Florida, we are primarily services-based industry. There is some tech, there is some medical, there's a couple of other things. But if you look up on Google and you type in, hey, what is the median income in Florida? And why median? Because if we do the average, well, if you have very high income earners like our family, we essentially bring up the average, whereas most people don't make that kind of money here in Florida. Now, if I ask ChatGPT tells me that the median income in Florida is $73,311. And that is, of course, household income, so 2 people working. All right, so you have a median income of slightly over $73,000. Again, 2 people working. The other thing that I would tell you is that you have to take a look at what these homes are costing now. And by the way, my wife and I, we went over to a Taylor Morrison property. And for those who are not familiar, Taylor Morrison is a builder here in Florida. They're actually all over the country, but they have some communities popping up here in Florida. And there was a particular model that we went to go view today. And that model that we went to go view is called the St. Croix model. And it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful floor plan. It's a 4-bedroom, 4.5 bathroom, 2,900 square feet. And again, I know that is very privileged because that is a lot of space. And to be honest with you, 4 people, we don't need that. Now, is it a want to have? Yes, it is a want. Is it a need? Absolutely not. So you always have to know the differences between the two. But of course, since we are in a very special place in life from a financial perspective, we went ahead and we looked at that property. So walk with me on this one, guys, so that way you can see how super unaffordable this stuff is. And I don't understand how, homes are selling, because essentially people are mortgaging their future is really what's happening. In order to get you into the community, they will tell you guys that the home starts at $570, this particular one that I'm referring to. Now, the interesting thing is, if you've never built with a builder before, the starting prices are never the prices. What you have to do is you start adding all the upgrades, you start adding the money for the lots, and you start adding all of these things. So when they show you a price and they advertise you a price, it's just to get you in the door. It's not exactly what it costs. Now, here's the other thing, guys. So $570,000, one of the things that people never look at, and I'm telling you right now, oh my God, they never bother understanding property taxes. Property taxes is something that you have to pay for your home. And that includes things like paying for your school taxes, paying for the city services, all kinds of good stuff is built into there. And so one of the first things that I did was I actually went on the city. So this home site is in St. Cloud, Florida. So in St. Cloud, Florida, you can actually go on the city's website. You can type in the address and it will tell you exactly what you have to pay in property taxes, which is funny how nobody ever does this, by the way. So once I went on the website and I finally looked at the property taxes, I got a value of $9,414. And I'll put this up on the screen here so that way you can see it. But $9,414 for property taxes, and that is per year. Now, here's the thing. We are at a $570,000 house, and let's recap the numbers here. So $570,000 for the house. We make the median income a little over $73,000, right? $73,311. And then on top of that, we have our property taxes, which is going to be a little over $9,000. And again, we'll put it up on the screen here, $9,414. Now, the next thing we got to talk about, guys, and this is very, very prominent here in Florida. I feel like you can't escape this stuff, but there is an HOA on the community. So for those who are not familiar, HOA stands for Homeowners Association. And the idea behind it is to pay for some of the services that you might have. So for example, some people have cutting grass as part of their HOA, right? They'll do your lawn, they'll make sure that all that is maintained. Sometimes they'll have common areas that need to be taken care of. So maybe you need to cut the grass, clean up the sign that gives the name of the community, that kind of stuff. So that's all included in your HOA. And in this particular community, let's say you have an HOA of $100, which is very, very cheap. In fact, actually, in Florida, there's a lot of communities where HOAs are a lot higher than that. And I looked at one today that was $400 a month. Wild. But anyways, $100 a month, so $1,200 a year. Now, next item on the list, and this is something that a lot of people don't realize, but it is called a CDD. What the heck is a CDD? Boy, oh boy, are you in for a treat here. So a CDD stands for Community Development District. And essentially what that is when you have a home builder that comes in and they go ahead and build a whole new community from scratch, there is sidewalks they need to build. If your community has an amenity center where you have pools, let's just say golfing, or recreational centers, right? All these things that need to go on or need to be built, the home builder will take out this bond, and typically these bonds are 20, 30 years. And that is what is leveraged in order to build the amenities, the sidewalks, and everything that the community needs to come up. So these bonds have to be paid back over that 20 or 30 year span. And in the bonds as well is included maintenance. So you have two things, right? You have to pay back the original money that was borrowed to build everything, but then also as well ongoing maintenance. That's all built into that. And that is what you call a CDD. So sometimes you go to these communities and not only do they have an HOA, but they also have a CDD, and that has to be factored in. So in the community that I was in today, they had a CDD. And let's just say, in order to keep things simple, $200. $200 per month, which is a total of $2,400. All right, guys, so as you see, we actually can put our umbrella down because it stopped raining. So in order to finish up these calculations real quick, let's go through it before it starts pouring again and I get rained on. But I think we left off in insurance because over here, like I said, in Florida, insurance is a big thing to have. And we're gonna make this very, very simple because we're having an insurance crisis right now here. And I think one of the biggest thing is in order to make the math simple, we're just gonna say insurance is gonna cost us $2,000 per year. And of course, I did a little bit of research online for the property that we were looking at, and it was telling us that it would cost us about $2,000 per year. All right, so let's talk about the last item here. And the last item on the list to consider is what is the mortgage rates that I'm seeing right now in this moment in time. And I'm seeing mortgages hover a little over 6%. So to be exact, one of the numbers that I've seen is 6.6%. Again, we are putting 20% down on the property, and 20% allows us to avoid PMI, especially for us folks who are gonna be taking a conventional mortgage. Now, PMI, if you're wondering what the heck that even means, that stands for private mortgage insurance. And what that says, when you have a conventional mortgage, meaning you don't have a VA, you don't have any other type of mortgage, a conventional mortgage tells us that you have to put 20% down of the home property, and if not, you have to pay PMI or private mortgage insurance. And all it is insurance that you have to pay in the case that you are not able to pay your bills and the bank has to foreclose on your house. It makes sure that they get payment for the house. It's basically a gimmick insurance. It's something that you're paying extra for, and it's such a waste of money. But anyways, if you don't have a 20% down payment, you will be paying PMI. So it's a couple $100 per 100,000 borrowed. But in order to make all the calculations really simple, of course, we're just going to assume that we put the 20% down on this house, which is $750,000. So we're gonna make sure that we put that 20% down in order to avoid PMI. So I think we have all our numbers before I get rained on here, but this is an example of how much you're gonna be paying per month. So all these numbers that I gave you, it is your responsibility to figure all this stuff out, because these people that are in the sales office that I met today and everywhere else, they're not gonna tell you this stuff. They just wanna sell you the house. And they don't even tell you what is best for your budget. And oftentimes they oversell you on house. So let's run through some of these numbers together and figure out what it costs. So that way I can show you guys how super unaffordable this is right now. And I can see why people are in very, very difficult positions. So let's talk about the first item on the list, and that is principal and interest payments. So again, you put 20% down on a $750,000 house. That means you have a $600,000 mortgage. So you put $150,000 down, you have $600,000 left in a mortgage, and at 6.6%, that's gonna give you a monthly payment of $3,831.95. Now let's talk about property taxes, right? We discussed it was $9,414 per year. So that, of course, per month equals to $784.50. HOA, $100 a month. We talked about that already. CDD, $200 per month, and we talked about what that is already. And of course, lastly, home insurance, which is $2,000 per year, or $166.67 per month. So if we add all those numbers together, what does that equal? Well, that gives us a total amount of $5,083.12. Now, $5,083.12 is going to be what is your mortgage payment per month. Holy smokes. Now, if we compare that to the median household income in Florida, so again, the median household income is a little over $73,000 per year. Or you can think about it as $6,109 per month. So $6,109 per month, but you have a mortgage payment or all these things that are eating at your paycheck from a housing perspective, and that is $5,083.12. Or what I like to think about is 83%, a little over 83% of your total household income. Now guys, that was just a simple example there of these homes and how people are buying these homes, which is, to be quite honest with you, 83% of your household income. I mean, that is what you call house poor. And the interesting thing about it is I didn't capture any utilities. I didn't capture anything else, groceries. I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to pay for in life, but you start to quickly see how this house that I'm talking about of $570,000 is super unaffordable for the people here in Florida. The locals just cannot afford it. Again, we're very privileged that we can easily afford that, but it makes me wonder, and it makes me think to myself, well, if the investors are pulling out of Florida and they're the ones that were buying a lot of the houses, or the interest rates are super, super low, and most people bank on the interest rate in order to buy houses because most people don't even do the math in order to figure this stuff out, you'll start to quickly see and quickly understand why when people get to the end of the rainbow, meaning they're getting ready to retire, they have no money for retirement. Why? Because it's locked up in their house. They put all of their money in their house and never saved anything for retirement. And then the sad part about it is that the equity that you build up in your house, meaning how much it goes up in value every single year, the equity that you built up in your house is being eaten every single year because property taxes go up. You're paying in order to maintain the house. You're also paying on utilities because you're living in the house. So all of those costs associated with running a house, it is being eaten, or should I say your equity is being eaten by all that stuff. Because people think that, oh, I buy a house for $100,000. I sell it for $200,000 2-3 years later, so I made $100,000. No, that's not how that works. You have to factor in your total cost of ownership during that time. And most people don't actually think about that. So all this to say, guys, again, I share this with you because this is one of the stages where I'm at in life. And I want to show you guys how I'm approaching it. Yes, this is going to be a home for my family, my children, my wife. They're going to enjoy it. We're going to make a lot of great memories. But at the same time, too, you don't want to allow this house to own you and make it into a nightmare. It should be something that is awesome for your family to enjoy, not for you to struggle and pay, you know, all this absorbent amount of money. And then on top of that, if you don't make the income to support the house and allow you to get ahead, then you're gonna literally be working for many years to come just to pay for your living expenses. That's a very bad place to be. And to be honest with you, I'm making this video so that way you guys don't fall into the trap. And the trap is they're gonna sell you this dream, they're gonna sell you this beautiful house, they're gonna put you in a mortgage for 30, 40 years. I'm seeing these jumbo loans now in some places in the country. But anyways, 30 years, you're gonna be paying for a house for 30 years. And when you get to the end of the rainbow, you have nothing left to show for it besides a house, which is a very sad place to be. And by the way, guys, the last thing I'll tell you is most people don't even know this. I was coaching somebody the other day on this very thing. And real quick, by the way, if you're interested in coaching sessions, links will be in the description. So go ahead and check that out. But I was coaching a family and I was letting them know why they're not gonna have any money at the end of the rainbow. And they were putting all of their money in interest in the house. They ended up getting not a conventional loan, but an FHA loan, which allows for a smaller down payment. So meaning they didn't have much equity into the house. And so a lot of it was paying off in interest, meaning that they didn't put down 20%. They put down, I think it was 3%. And again, they had such a big loan. And because of that, they were paying a lot in interest. And by the way, guys, I will actually take our example that we did today, and I will put what is called an amortization schedule up on the screen here. And all that tells you is that you're taking a look at your payments, and of your payments, it's gonna show you how much you're gonna be paying in interest and how much you're gonna be paying in principal as time goes on for the life of the loan. And you guessed it, it is 30 years. And so as you can see here, and people don't know this, by the way, you are paying interest up front. That's right. As an example, you can see here that most of the interest is paid up front in the loan. So look at all of these thousands of dollars right here that you're seeing. These thousands of dollars every single year is going to the bank just for giving you the ability to borrow money. It's not even going to the principal, meaning your loan is not decreasing. So this is how the banks get their money, because even if you were to sell the house and pull out, they've essentially still made all the money, because when it comes to mortgages, car loans, the interest is paid up front first, and then as time goes on, you start to pay down the actual property or the asset itself. It can be the car, or in our case here, it's the house. So guys, all to say, pull up your amortization schedule, run these numbers, and make sure it fits with the decisions you're about to make. Because I can tell you right now, as time goes on, and I'm already seeing it here in Florida, all these houses, they're going down in property value, and they're going down in value because none of the locals can afford it. At some point, when everybody runs out of Florida, all the investors, right, everybody that can no longer work remotely because they're being told to come back into the office, right, all these property values, they're going to start to tank. Why? Because the local economy can't support it. And again, that's because Florida is very touristic. We got Disney here, we got a lot of other great things, but if these places that are service-based are only paying $15, $20 an hour, there's no way in heck that the local people can support this type of pricing. And of course, it's all supply and demand at that point. And if there is a lot of supply and no demand because nobody can afford it, you have exactly what is happening right now, where home prices are plummeting. And it's a great opportunity for me and my family to take advantage of. So anyways, guys, I think that'll do it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you guys learned a couple of things, and hopefully you guys appreciate me walking in the rain and giving you my perspective and some of the things that I'm seeing here in my local market. And for those of you guys who have been preparing, I think in the next year or two, it's going to be a phenomenal time to actually purchase your home or purchase that investment property, whatever that looks like for you. So anyways, guys, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts. Did you guys make a mistake in purchasing your home because you overbought a couple of years ago when money was cheap and everybody was having a bidding war for these houses that are not really worth $500,000-$600,000 like they say they are, and really they should be more like 3 to 4? I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna head back because it looks like it's gonna start to pour again. But as always, I love you all. I appreciate you all. Thanks for joining me on this quick little walk here. And if you enjoyed the content, make sure you give me a like for the video as it helps the channel grow. Subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications so you're notified when I upload new videos to the channel. And lastly, of course, share this with a family member or a friend. And as always, guys, I love you and I appreciate you. Let me head back because it is literally about to pour, I think, and I don't want to get caught. So I'll see you guys in the next one.